Today's football talk, we have two guests from London, avid football fans, Miles and Hamza. Miles supports Liverpool and Hamza is a Spurs man, also a big Real Madrid fan. This is the first ever discussion about football in our podcast. Welcome, guys, to UnTwisted.
It's good to be here. Good to be on the podcast. Very excited.
Yeah. Feelings are mutual. Nice to join this illustrious gathering.
Great to have you both here. First thing first, the World Cup qualifying is underway in Europe. Excited for next year? Miles?
Should be interesting. I mean, I think one of the biggest things is like having a Winter World Cup. I think that'll be quite interesting. Especially like having to like pause the Premier League season and like all the other major seasons, like all the players to go to the World Cup and like what that kind of does to a lot of players and stuff.
Hamza?
Yeah, to be honest, it's gonna be decent, especially after how everything's been locked up. So I guess everyone's looking at this as some sort of like a summer festival, more like, you get me? Everyone's gonna tune in, and I'm excited to see what happens with all these teams performing, especially England's squad and whatnot.
Absolutely, can't wait for the World Cup, man. Can't wait after COVID. Yeah. England won the first match against San Marino, though. It's probably the lowest ranked team in Europe. Did you see the game?
Yeah, I did watch the game. It does. It's like obviously all due respect to San Marino, obviously they've got a population of 30,000, which is like smaller than most London boroughs. So it's not really like in comparison. It's like kind of hard to like get like a good judge. I think there's only like two, professional players in their squad, compared to obviously England players who make like hundreds of thousands a week and stuff like that. So
yeah.
I don't think you can really judge like the true quality of the England team based on that game, to be honest.
Absolutely. Hamza, did you see the match?
To be honest with you, I did not watch it. I'm not really a fan of England. Grew up watching Brazil and France mainly, and yeah, I've got to be honest, and I'm tired of seeing England play the likes of San Marino and Polish builders. You get me? So every year is San Marino, and there's a couple others that come into the World Cup qualification, and then when England do get to the actual big tournament, and then they face the likes of a Croatia or a Switzerland or Colombia, they struggle against those sort of teams because they haven't been really facing tough competition during their, qualification process. But yeah, we'll see what happens, because this England team looks very much more promising than their previous golden generation of Lampard, Gerrard, and Scholes, and etc.
Absolutely, we'll see. England has a pretty easy qualifying group. There's Poland and there's Hungary, and then they could pose some competition. And there's Albania, there's Andorra, and San Marino. So will it be as easy as it is on the papers? In terms of England qualification?
I personally think the biggest tell will be when England play Poland. I think obviously they're quite regular, so like recently qualifying for major tournaments, and so that'll be the first proper test where you'll see where this England team actually stacks up. Because obviously, if England then find the game quite easy, I feel like that's then when you can kind of think, oh, actually, no, this England team is promising. But if England then struggle against Poland, then you kind of know that there's no point getting too hyped about this team.
Yeah, literally. I agree with Miles as well.
So I was a bit disappointed with Hamza's stance on English football. I'm a very proud Sri Lankan supporter. How do you rate England's stars next year? Will football come home this time, Hamza?
Next year, for the World Cup I don't know, because when you look at it, you got to look at the other teams that are also competing. So England do have their golden generation, and I'm not being disrespectful to England, because like I said, this is a more promising team than the Lampard, Gerrard, and the Beckham, and that Scholes when they had that golden opportunity. I think this is more of a team because there's not much of a rivalry going on amongst the Premier League teams. But when you compare that with the golden generation of France, Belgium, Germany, with the players they're bringing through the ranks, I don't know. It's tough to say. But being in England, you feel the how positive they are, and yeah, they made a good run last time. I think they can do a better run this time.
I feel the biggest tell will be, I think, this summer. to see exactly what happens at the Euros, because I think that there will be a couple players that, well, it's only next winter, so we should still have the same squad. But realistically, I feel like this will be like the biggest tell when you go into the Euros. Obviously, we've got quite an easy group. I would say like the biggest challenge really is Scotland, purely because of rivalry than anything else. But yeah, I feel that if England get far in this Euros, especially like potentially coming across like bigger teams like later on in the tournament, and if England do well with that, then yeah, you can get quite excited about the World Cup.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that'll be the biggest test this summer. You know, see exactly where it goes, and also if Southgate's actually like good enough to like, because obviously there's a lot of talent and a lot of good players in the squad, but whether you can get the best out of the players like this summer.
So there's a lot of gap, you know. I mean, there's a lot of time to go, but judging by the present situation of world football, who do you think will be the favorites?
Next summer, as in for the World Cup, well, realistically, you always got to kind of boil it down to the teams that like the nations that always like pump out the big players all the time. You know, realistically, you can never really look past like Brazil, Spain, Germany, France. You know,
The usual ones.
Kind of, yeah.
Hamza, you said that, you know, I mean, you are not a great fan of England. Just to find out what you think, who would you like to win the World Cup?
Who would I like? I mean, if who I would personally like, I would like Ronaldo to win it with Portugal, because I'm a big, massive Ronaldo fan. So I'll be biased there if I said that. But if I was being a neutral, and if you asked me from that standpoint, I'd probably say France have the best opportunity to retain that trophy. But history will show you that whenever a team that wins the World Cup or wins the major international tournament, the following season they usually get kicked out in the group stages, which has happened previously with the likes of Germany, Italy, and Brazil and so on. So will France change their destiny, or will they actually be the first team to do a to break that little hoodoo of getting knocked out?
It's too early to call. We have the qualifier just getting started. We got Belgium v Czech Republic, Norway v Turkey, and then there's Holland, Croatia, and Ireland also playing today. Are you guys watching?
I think the Holland Croatia game, I think, is the game I'll probably pay attention to, because I feel like that game could go either way. Holland lost the other day, lost 4-2, I think. And I feel like after missing out on the last World Cup, they really can't miss out on another one. So I kind of look and see what like they can do, because they've had like a revival in terms of like players coming into their squad, like quite a few youngsters like De Jong and De Ligt, and players like that. Obviously Croatia, everyone knows what happened with them at the last World Cup, and I feel like this will probably be the last time that group of players will be able to play together, because they've got players like Rakitic and Modric, kind of getting towards like the end of their career and stuff.
Modric is Hamza's man. Are you going to watch the match today?
The Holland Croatia or any other?
I mean, any other. There's a pretty good lineup. Belgium versus Czech Republic will also be a good one, I suppose.
Yeah, compared to the first match day, which on Tuesday, Wednesday, the games are much more better this weekend. It's kind of spiced up, especially how Miles just spoke about Holland getting smashed, literally, because really and truly they were 3-0 down, and they managed to score 2 goals when Davy Klaassen came on. So, but didn't really work out, because they ended up conceding another, and Depay ended up missing a penalty, which could have made it 3-3 at that point. But yeah, I mean, there's going to be Portugal, Serbia, and I like Serbia. They look like a very strong team, and I like Portugal's superstar team. They got stars everywhere out of the blue. They managed to get the likes of João Felix and Bernardo Silva, Bruno Fernandes, Ruben Diaz, and like Guedes, and all these sort of players. So it'll be interesting to see that game. But Holland Croatia will be the game of the night, I personally think.
Miles, how do you rate Portugal?
Yeah, I think obviously this squad is probably, ironically, actually probably a lot better than actually the squad that they won the Euros with, actually. Players like like Hans was saying, players like Bruno Fernandes and João Felix and Bernardo Silva, who are all just like outright superstars in their own right, and that's not even adding then Ronaldo, who's obviously been there, kind of done it all, into the mix as well. And now you finally think they actually got like a decent defense as well and a good keeper. And then plus you can't forget that like the entire Wolves squad seem to be Portuguese as well. So there's players in there as well. Players like Neto, who's also had a really good season. Jota at Liverpool, he was injured for a bit, but he's played well when he's been playing. So like Portugal have a good squad now.
Yeah. And the right backs as well, like João Cancelo, Ricardo Pereira, Nelson Semedo, the fullbacks Guerrero, Mario Rui. They're a stacked team. Just let's see what happens.
Yeah, Hamza is more excited about Portugal than England, it seems. Anyway,
100%. It never hides that one.
absolutely. Every time there's a World Cup, there's new superstars coming out. Talking about breakout superstars. Who do you think will sign in the upcoming World Cups? Like, Erling Haaland is playing today, I guess, but we don't even know if Norway will qualify. So let's call some names like English players and others. Who is your next World Cup superstars?
Oh, it's kind of hard to know. I think in terms of like English players, if you want to start there, kind of players you probably look out for like the World Cup will probably obviously players like Foden. Foden's obviously done really well getting to the City team, playing really well and stuff. And then like a year and a half later, he should you're hoping that like if he carries on where he's going, he should be like kind of like one of the biggest players in the Premier League, and obviously still young. Still got other players like obviously Jude Bellingham, pulled up into the like England senior team, completely like skips out under 21s and stuff. Only 17, but obviously he's starter for Dortmund now. He's still like really young as well. Obviously Sancho, who's there as well. So obviously quite a few players.
Me personally, yeah. In terms of England as well, yeah. Like Miles literally laid it all down, to be honest. Jude Bellingham, I was gonna say him because he's the youngest out of all of them, and then he's also one of the few young English players that has the courage to go abroad and has like taken a bit of advice from Jadon Sancho, who was the previous young player. I mean, saying Sancho young, I think Sancho just turned 21 yesterday or 22 yesterday, so he's still a kid himself. But it's going to be very interesting, especially with this England young setup and how often will Southgate go towards the young players, because England have had a history of like taking a 16 or 17-year-old Theo Walcott to the World Cup, and then the Oxlade-Chamberlains and all those type of players in the past. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see, mainly because they got a very tough like young English superstars on the rise.
Right. How about foreign players, like new emerging foreign players? Miles?
Well, it's kind of hard to say, to be honest. Obviously, you look at teams like Norway. Norway's obviously got Haaland and Odegaard. If they can qualify, that could be quite interesting. It seems like teams like France seem to be pulling out youngsters every 5 minutes. Like people have always been talking about Camavinga as like a rising superstar. They've got loads of like seem to forget like who are still quite young. Like Martial's not even that old. Then players like Dembele, who's still quite young, even though he's been like around at Barcelona and Dortmund, etc. for quite a while. Then teams like Germany also got loads of players coming out, and it's like you never really like all the like big like nations who you kind of assume always have like big names coming out, I feel like.
True. World Cup is also like an end of an era for big legends like Ronaldo and Messi. Do you think like this is their last World Cup and somebody will come to take over?
Me?
Yes. Go on.
Yes. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Definitely. In terms of Ronaldo, I think this is his last World Cup. He kind of like hinted towards it because he's 37 now, and by the next World Cup he will be like 38. So, I mean, he's hinted that he can probably like ride the talent of the team that they have now and use his experience and play that striker's role and try adapt off that. But in terms of Messi, I think he has another World Cup after this because he's obviously 3 years younger than Ronaldo. And I feel like the player that has already kind of like taken the shine away from them has already arrived, and he arrived a couple of years ago in, you know, the name of Kylian Mbappe. Like, we can't ignore that. You get what I'm trying to say? Like, so I feel like he already came at the age of 18, 19, he won the World Cup. And it's not like he just came into the World Cup and he did it like monumental things, but he came in prior to that in the Champions League with a different team in Monaco, and they managed to, like, you know, cause a lot of havoc. And yeah, Mbappe is the guy who's kind of taken that shine away already, and you're starting to notice it. And you're starting to already see that they're trying to pick out the Ronaldo-Messi sort of rivalry for this next generation, and they're picking the Mbappe and Haaland. So they already pinned them against each other, and now it's just, let's see what happens. Let's see if they can live up to the standards that Messi and Ronaldo have set.
Let's see a quick answer though. Ronaldo or Messi, who is greater?
If you're asking me, I'm going to say Ronaldo. I'm going to be biased. I'm going to say Ronaldo all the time. I have my reasons, but we're going to be here all day, so I'd say Ronaldo, and that's that. But yeah.
Fair enough. Miles?
Purely because I've seen him like do it in like multiple different obviously he's done it in multiple teams, like 3 different leagues now. So, and also like he's won like major tournaments. So I probably have to go for Ronaldo as well, to be honest.
Wow. Okay, now let's talk about English football. Not the national team, but our Premier League. You know, I followed football from early 90s. I'm a Chelsea fan from the very beginning. But when I came to England, I was shocked by the level of craze in English football. I felt like everyone was so passionate, like everybody knew everything. I mean, even in the streets, like the cats and dogs would know football. That's how I felt, you know. Why is it that football is so popular here? Miles?
I don't know. I just feel like football's like one of the things that like I imagine you would experience it like during like the last World Cup when England got to the semi-final, how like the whole like country like got together behind it. It's like I feel like football's one of the few things where if you don't know someone, it's like, oh, they probably know about football. It's like the easiest way of like bonding with someone, I feel like, is just over football.
Want to add anything, Hamza?
Yeah, I feel like the culture and how it's like been pinned around like the British like and the English culture that is just football brings a lot of people together, and a lot of people seek like a lot of like peace and unity through football, and like it's also a cause of major distraction. So just that being said, like I feel like it's a very big attraction. So yeah.
Another question, Miles. You know, you support Liverpool and you're a London boy. Why Liverpool?
Because of my dad and my family, to be honest. Like growing up, my dad was always a Liverpool fan, so it was like always on TV and stuff. Like team I always watched growing up, and so that was like who I supported, to be honest. You know.
Mm-hmm. Have you watched matches from Anfield?
Yeah. I've been to Anfield. Actually, I've not been in a long time. Actually, last game I went to was actually the season we finished second in the title, like when Suarez and Sturridge and Sterling were there.
Okay.
Like 2013. But yeah, that was so I've been but obviously unfortunately it's the other side of the country, so it's quite hard to go to.
Mm-hmm. There's so many London, teams in here. There's Chelsea, Arsenal. Why Tottenham?
Well, mainly started because like I actually started supporting Real Madrid first, and going to school, you kind of realize that they only kind of watch the Premier League teams. So I would be sitting there in like year 7 or like year 6, year 5, and they're all talking about United, Chelsea, Arsenal, and all the, the so-called Liverpools and everything. And I'd be like, oh, like, I can't really make a conversation with these people because I support a Spanish team, and they're going to be like, you're a glory hunter. So, yeah, so I heard it all, by the way. So, yeah, I was like, you know what? I don't want to be classed as some sort of glory hunter. So I thought I'd go for a team that's kind of like around the mid-table and they have some sort of potential. So at that time, there was 3 teams I used to like, and that was Tottenham, Aston Villa, and Manchester City. Mm-hmm. And yeah, as time went on, Man City got bought by like billionaires, which kind of put me off. And Aston Villa got relegated, and then it was just Tottenham left there. So then I started supporting Tottenham very, very properly from like 2008, 2009 onwards.
What a brilliant reason. Have you been to the new stadium though?
No, not a chance. I haven't. No.
All right, okay. Let's talk about this season. It feels like the title race is all but over. Man City running away. Pep Guardiola doing it again. Miles, what went wrong for Liverpool, man?
Oh, where to start? I think the big thing obviously was massive amount of injuries. I would say that's probably the easiest thing. Because there was a period where our two best midfielders ended up playing centre back because we had no centre backs left. And when that happens, it kind of like one of the big things that I think a lot of people didn't really notice was that because obviously people lost trust in when you've got like Gomez and Van Dijk in defence, the midfielders and attackers feel happy to press and not track back because they feel like, oh, we've got like a great like centre partnerships like do things with. But then obviously when you watch them, half the reasons why we lost a lot of games 1-0 was because our forward players weren't making like the same kind of, I feel like they weren't making the same kind of runs. They weren't like kind of taking the same chances they would have, knowing that like, because obviously our defense wasn't what it's meant to be. And then obviously it was like loads of injuries, and then kind of like I feel like the whole team's head just dropped and it just got worse and worse and worse.
Hamza, what's your thought about Liverpool this year?
Yeah, just the fact that they've lost their best player. Because like you could say like, oh, Salah's their best player, Mane's their best player, and then like you have periods in the season where you say, oh, Firmino's their best player because he'll have like one amazing game and whatnot. But you actually have that one best player in their team and you know that person is, and that's Van Dijk. Like since he came into that team, he made them from like second place or like outside the top 14 to a team that can go to Champions League finals, Champions League winners, finishing second in the league to winning the league. And that's just what impact a world-class defender does to a team. And having him not being there, like, it's clearly made an effect. And then they've had to like fill that gap with the likes of like a Fabinho, who has played with centre back and right back for his teams at Monaco, and is on loan time period at Real Madrid where he played right back and centre back there as well. But it's not the same thing. You get what I'm trying to say? Like, you can't really fulfill that hole when you lost a world-class sort of player. And being a Real Madrid fan this season, I've realised that because we've had 49 injuries ourselves, so I can relate to Liverpool's situation. It's a Liverpool situation where they've struggled, and it's evident that there's been an injury that played a massive role on their season.
Right. There's some whispers about Klopp going away or Gerrard coming in to replace him. Miles, should Klopp go?
I would say, especially like if you look at where the club was when Klopp took over, like there's I remember there's this Sky Sports graphic that they love to pop up, and it was like one of Klopp's like first weeks, I think. And our striking options at the time were Benteke, Ricky Lambert, and Fabio Borini, who neither of them had scored a goal. And it's just like the team just looked so dire at the time. Our defense was an absolute shambles. We had kind of no direction. I feel like Brendan Rodgers kind of signed a bit here, a bit there. After he lost like Suarez, the team kind of like felt like it had no identity. And then like we finished 8th, and then to come to like where we are now, I feel like it's like just so like it's come so far that I feel like one bad season can't just like undo all of that. And also the big thing is, I understand obviously Gerrard's done like amazing things at Rangers, but I wouldn't want someone who's like, such like a big club legend just to come in just because of that. I feel like,
To be honest, like I feel like that noise is only there because well, yeah, if Klopp would still be having the time he's having right now, which he's been struggling this season, fair enough. We've kind of pinpointed why that's the reason. But at the same time, it's like if Gerrard, who's the biggest Liverpool legend, if he wasn't having the season that he's having as a manager, would they actually be bringing this up? So it's all from the media, like it's that nostalgia as well, that you want a Liverpool legend, the greatest to ever to do it for them in their eyes, like coming back to his beloved club. And it's like a Twilight sort of love story. They want that perfect meeting. But if he wasn't doing great, they would not have brought it up. and that's the only case. Like, you got to give Klopp another chance, especially what he's done in his first 3 to 4 years at Liverpool.
Tottenham, gentlemen, you've got Son and Kane, and then they got Bale. I thought you guys would do better than this.
So did I. I thought this was the season, but very earlier on, I kind of knew that when we were not signing a very good centre back, an elite level centre back, I kind of knew, even when we were at top of the table for like a short period of time, I knew that we'd be lucky to even get a top 4. I never got really carried away with the fact that, oh, Tottenham's going to win this or Tottenham's going to win that, because every Tottenham fan knows by now that you cannot really count on Tottenham in these sort of situations. So until we sign a centre back, any topic about Tottenham winning trophies is non-existent to me, because to be a good team, you need a world-class centre back, and like Liverpool have shown that by signing an elite level centre back like Van Dijk and what that can do to a team. And if clearly Levy didn't want to buy a centre back, I was just shocked, because Ruben Diaz was available on the market for around 50-60 million, and we were busy chasing Milan Skriniar's shadow in Inter Milan. So I don't know. Maybe next year, if they can manage to somehow hold on to Kane and Son and get an elite level centre back, then they can start thinking about moving forward. But right now, they're not going nowhere.
Okay, Jose Mourinho, he did brilliant at Chelsea. He was so good in Italy and also won few things for Real. He seems to have lost his charm at Spurs, right?
Yeah, here and there, yes.
Would you like him to go now?
I wouldn't like him to go, because if we have to get rid of him, we have to give a payout of 20 million. That isn't the only reason. Like, you can't start a rebuild or a structure and then halfway through you're like, okay, let's end it. Personally, for me, I feel like they need to like give him the money to bring out, not like just a player like Gareth Bale that's riding on what he's done in the past, and maybe bring the likes of a Dybala who's a player that's in the now, not the past, and then give him the money to buy a centre back instead of playing hardball with other European clubs and trying to fish out 5 million discounts and 10 million discounts. You can't just shut the process down and just move on. Even Chelsea gave Lampard a chance within a whole season, and then they stuck by him till the January, and then they decided to let him go. But you cannot just after 8 months decide to get rid of a manager.
Yeah, I just feel like obviously there's a lot of people want to blame Mourinho and stuff, but the thing is that if you look at his record, he's won wherever he's been before. I think he's still United's most successful manager since Ferguson, even though everyone likes to point pictures about how bad he was at United. And yeah, I think there are much bigger issues that if you got rid of Mourinho, still would need to be fixed. I don't rate Lloris as a keeper. I never did. I feel like recently I just started to realise that. Centre backs, obviously, are a massive issue. I feel like there are some good there are massive bonuses in that team. Like Ndombele looks like a quality player. And then if you guys can keep hold of Son and Kane, and then potentially bring in another world-class winger as well, then the squad could be really good. But again, it's a process. And getting rid of Mourinho would mean that another manager would have to come in and start that process all over again.
True. At Chelsea, we have a new manager. He has had a brilliant start at Chelsea. The way he's playing the squad, I'm beginning to think it's Chelsea's year in 2022. What do you think?
I don't know. To be fair, I do feel like that Chelsea squad is very good. Obviously spent 200 million in the summer bringing in Kai Havertz and Timo Werner and players like that. And if Tuchel can bring the best out of these players, then yeah, 100%. Chelsea can actually definitely challenge, if not win Premier League next season, I feel like. But obviously Tuchel's only been in for a little bit of time now. And I feel like a lot of teams, when they get a new manager, they start playing really well. But it'd be interesting to see.
To be honest, obviously, I'm going to try and not be upset you, but I feel like he's doing a better job than Lampard did when Lampard came. He's started off like at a much more consistent pace. And maybe that's because the players that were bought when Lampard were there were like still fresh, whereas where he's come in, they've got a bit of a chemistry now, so he's come into that. But I mean, Chelsea fans, like my cousin, he's a Chelsea fan, and they'll tell you themselves that we can't get carried away because when Lampard, like Miles said, every team has a honeymoon period, and it can go left after that if they do not, follow through. But he's doing a good job right now. The things are looking bright for Chelsea as well in terms of the draw, like the luck of the draw in terms of Champions League. If we can get them into like a semi-final or a final sort of situation, add that sort of belief into the players that, look, I've got you this far in my first 6 months, and they will start believing him, then they can build on that and probably like cause more problems. But yeah, the players like Havertz and Werner, personally for me, I think there are better players out there. I'm recently starting to see the likes of Erling Haaland and Romelu Lukaku being linked to Chelsea. And I simply see it as if Havertz and Werner were the future of Chelsea and they were fully ongoing, like, so that keeping them, then I don't think they would be interested in signing the likes of Lukaku or Erling Haaland.
List your top 4 for this year, the top 4 teams.
I feel like it's going to be, I'm going to go with, obviously City are going to win the title this season. I feel like that's pretty much shown up now. Then I'm going to go with United. I'm going to go Chelsea, and Liverpool are going to get in at the end for like resurgence in the season.
Hamza, is it the same for you as well?
I feel because of the way things. Well, firstly, City and United are definitely cemented their positions. I don't see anyone catching them, because City obviously they've got on a crazy run of form, and even if they start losing games now, they got the experience and know-how to like somehow make it to the finish line. That's if they manage to like fumble what they have, the lead that they have. And United just know how to do it on the day. Like they know how to get the job done when it matters. So in that sense, the third and fourth, because of how the year has been and all these shocks that we're seeing, I would say, I can see West Ham just going into there. Like I don't see someone like kind of challenging that West Ham team. I'm looking at the fixtures and they've got a very easy ride. West Ham, they've got a couple easy fixtures coming up. They're beating all the big teams when they have to, and they're doing good. And in terms of like that's fourth, but in terms of like third place or whatever, it's really just a scrap between Chelsea, Liverpool, and Tottenham, because Tottenham somehow have still managed to be just a point outside the top 4, and I think we're a point ahead of Liverpool. So yeah, in that sense, it's going to be very, very like interesting, because Tottenham's got an easy fixture coming up as well. But then the likes of Son and Kane getting injured, that can have a massive effect as well, because Tottenham are very heavily reliant on Kane, especially.
Yeah, I'll just tell you my top 4. It will be Man City, Man United, Chelsea, and Liverpool. There's another tournament that's the results is yet to be decided. The Champions League. Who is your favorite?
Awesome.
I feel like you got to look at this season, probably Munich. I feel like they're just like free scoring in like every game they're playing. I feel like they're probably the favourites at the moment. A lot of people would have said PSG, but I don't know. I've seen them since Portugal's gone there in like the French league, and they've been like fumbling games against like teams they really shouldn't be losing against, and like somehow they're in a title race, which they should have been like well clear of ages ago.
Hamza?
Yeah, I would have been 100% on Munich if you asked me this like 3 months ago. I would have said 100% Munich, but like now it's like 80%, mainly because of the fact that Munich's also been struggling in the league. Like they're giving up goals very easily. It's looking very scary, and like usually when they're walking through their league, they're now like just like a couple points ahead of whoever's in second. I think it's Eintracht Frankfurt or Red Bull Leipzig, one of those two teams. So I would have been definite about them, but I wouldn't be surprised. like, I'm just saying, don't be surprised if they do not make it to the finals. And City looking very good, but then we know City in the Champions League, when it comes down to that moment, they struggle. No matter who it is, it can be an English team, it can be Lyon, it can be Monaco. They struggle in that very moment. So it's the Champions League, to me, this season is very open, because the likes of Chelsea, who've been struggling in the league, have also made it to the quarters, and they're on potentially can make it to the semi-final if they go past Porto, and Porto beat Juventus. So who would have thought? And Liverpool, so they've somehow, with the injury-prone season that they've had, with the missing out on their best players, they've made it to the quarters as well. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting. Obviously, me being a Real Madrid fan, I'd say Real Madrid because of our love with this competition and our history with it. But there will be a couple of surprises. I don't think it's over. I don't think it's certain to just say Bayern Munich. But if there is a favorite, then you probably have to say Bayern Munich, mainly of what they've done last year.
Yeah, football is full of surprises, isn't it? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Chelsea wins. Right, guys. I guess we covered almost everything. Very good to have you both, and hopefully we'll have more football talk later. Can't wait for next year. Thank you both. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
No
Thank you.
problem, anytime.